Hello everyone, thank you for taking a look at my video. This video is going to go over the Shanwan Q13 mobile game controller. I haven't really seen much of anybody reviewing just this specific one here. I have to say I was quite disappointed because there was definitely functions that it was supposed to have that it doesn't have. Honestly, later on in the video you'll see the application that was made for this controller, and it is not very good. Feel free to skip ahead if you wish, but I'm going to do just a slight unboxing of this controller. We'll get into the different functionality of it. So I've already opened mine, so some of the packaging is already going to be loose. Here's the controller itself. The controller is laid out like an Xbox controller. This is the multifunction buttons, which are on the back of the controller here. So you have M1, 2, 3, and 4. These buttons correspond to the trigger and the bumpers up here. So one thing that I did find out is that the M button here, you're supposed to be able to turn the functionality completely off or clear out the functionality of these buttons so they don't have to be used. But whenever I read the manual, it said that you can hold this button down for 5 seconds and it will clear out that functionality. The M button on my controller doesn't work at all. So that was disappointing already. The next thing is you'll see later on in the video whenever I do the game tester app or the game tester functionality within the Shanwan controller application, is that the right directional button here does not work. You actually have to put a lot of pressure down on this button to actually make it register. Like up, you can see how lightly I'm pushing it there. Left works just by barely pushing it down, and then the down button works just by but this one you actually have to like push it down hard to get it to even register. So right off the bat, failure. Everything else seems to work as it should. I mean, I was quite hopeful for this controller when I received it because I saw reviews that people said that they were able to fit their phone inside of it, and I'll just show you my phone here. This is an OtterBox case that I have on my phone here, and as you can see, I can put it in the controller, open it up, and it fits well, and it's not coming out. I know some people said you don't want to play any games like above your head, but I mean, honestly, whenever I lay down on the couch or in my chair, I will play games on my phone here. So, but for me, I mean, it works great in this case. So, and it feels good in the hand. It's not too heavy. Little bit heavier than what I would see through like a backbone controller that I had before, but the left trigger stopped working, so I thought I would give this one a try before I spend the $99 on a new backbone controller. But besides that, I mean, with the exception of the buttons being bad, I mean, I was very hopeful for this controller. One other thing is that it tells you in the directions, but doesn't make sense when you read it. To actually raise the analog sticks up and down, you actually have to turn it counterclockwise. And when you do that, it raises it up. You can see the distance it raised it, and then I'll put it all the way back down. You can see the difference there. So the instructions tell you have to pull up on it, then twist it, and then push it back down. You don't have to do that. You just turn it counterclockwise till it's tight back in place, and then it works just like it should. So that's one thing that I will point out that I had to figure out. This one you can raise it up as well. So I like the fact that you can raise those up and down. So now I'll set that off to the side. I'll move on to the rest of the packaging. As I stated before, this comes in small plastic bags. Really like the braided cable. Other people have mentioned it. It is nice to receive a braided cable instead of one of them cheap rubberized ones or plastic feeling ones. I mean, this one actually is a pretty decent quality to be what it is. You get these adapters here. This adapter is so that you can actually charge your phone while you actually have it in the case. Let me grab my phone here. Let me see. I'm not even sure if this will even plug in with my case. No, this won't even plug in. But basically, to give you the gist of it, is if you had a thinner case or a case that didn't have all of this cushioning down here, which you can see mine is recessed pretty well in there. It will not go all the way in. Put this on here. Basically what it's supposed to do is when you put your phone in here, there's enough space there to where you can actually plug the cable in up top, and then it will actually be able to charge while you're using your phone to play games. It came with these two little rubberized analog stick covers. I mean, I thought they were good. They were comfortable to me. I wish they would have sent me black ones instead of white ones, but honestly, I've already started the replacement process through Amazon to get this controller replaced, so who knows what the next one will be. You get this right here. You have the Android application, the Shanwan controller app, the Apple iOS store. So if you scan one of those QR codes, it takes you directly to the application. Again, I'm going to get to the application here in a little bit. This is your manual here, and just to explain to you how some of the stuff doesn't make sense, here's like a Q&A section, and right here it says why the phone can't search the controller. Forget some device name before you connected, and then press power button and keep 2 seconds, reconnect. It makes no sense to me when you read that. I mean, I get the gist of what it's saying, but to me it makes no sense when you read that. So I can't say I am overly enthused about the clarity of this manual. And as I was stating before, the M button, it says how to clear all mapping functions. It says press and hold the button for 5 seconds. Tried that, doesn't work. For me, the button is not even functional at all. Again, I've already started the replacement through Amazon. I can submit an update video once I receive the replacement, so hopefully that'll be all right. Now, one thing else I want to point out is, and I want to show you this here. Let me turn on the controller, because it won't read it unless you have the controller turned on. So in order to turn the controller on, I've already got mine paired. You just have to hold the button down for like 5 seconds and then release it. And then it'll blink for a couple of seconds, and then once it picks up the Bluetooth signal with your phone, it'll actually stay lit green, as you can see here. Now, I'm going to move over to the Bluetooth settings. I'm going to show you. So as you can see right here at the very top, it actually shows up as DualShock 4 wireless controller. Okay, so it shows up as a PlayStation controller, even though it is laid out like an Xbox controller. You can go in there and certainly rename this to be, Shanwan Xbox controller or something like that, but it doesn't do any good. So I'll go down here to where it's set to the general, and then I'll go to the game controller here. This is where you should be able to remap the buttons for the controller. Since this controller shows up as a PlayStation controller, by default, it actually has PlayStation controls in here. So you've got the X button, the circle button, the square, you've got the triangle, and then the other buttons you see here. Now, as you can see here at the bottom, it has L3 and R3. Those buttons are actually the buttons on the back of the controller. So those buttons don't even register as the buttons they are on the controller itself. Now, I've got Call of Duty Mobile in here as the game that I play with this controller, but again, you cannot update any of these controls. I went over here and actually tried to build a profile specifically for this controller, but it will not let me change the type of controller it is. I don't know why they would send this to you as though it's like an Xbox controller, but then in the settings it shows up as a PlayStation controller. So even if you wanted to remap these buttons, you're remapping them based off of what a PlayStation controller looks like. So the next thing I'm going to show you is the phone application for the Shanwan controller, and please do not get your hopes up, because I promise you that it is not very good. So I will see you here in just a moment. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the Shanwan controller application. So from this window here, down in the bottom right hand corner, you will see the Shanwan controller application. It's right next to the Xbox there. So I'll just open that up. Now you have to be connected to your controller in order to see everything. If you don't have your phone connected to the controller, you'll see this window right here that says no available devices found. Connect manually. Now if you hit no device, it will make this go away, or you can hit continue and it'll research to see if it can find your controller. So I turned my controller on after I opened up the application just so you could see that window. This has a similar feel to like the Backbone, although this is a far stretch from saying this is a Backbone type interface, because it is definitely not. So I will start by showing you that you can actually, you can swipe with your finger, such as I'm doing here, or you can actually use the controller to move through the applications and the games here. One thing to note is when you go down the list of categories, once you get past the for free section, there's nothing else here. So I've tried to wait to see if it would actually load something, or maybe the application was just taking a while. That is not the case. It never loads anything down this list here. I don't know if more stuff is coming or what the case is, but it is definitely not loading anything below this section in those categories. I will show you how the opening an application or a game works here. So for me, the game that I play the most is Call of Duty Mobile. Now, before I hit the button here, I want you to be aware of something. I just want you to pay close attention to the one in the middle there with the girl on the side, and it says Life is Strange, True Colors. I'm going to hit the button, and I want you to pay close attention to that section. Okay, you saw that little wheel that popped up? That was supposed to be the loading for you selecting the application and then it loading or opening the application to load it. It does not do that. So you actually have to select the button twice in order for it to load, which is what it does here. Now, as you can see, the Amazon video showed that when they opened up the game, it went straight into the game and you could start playing. That is not at all what it does. It actually opens the corresponding app store, whether you're on Android or a Google Pixel or an iPhone. It opens up the corresponding app store for that game, and you actually have to open it from the App Store. It does not load the game like it does in the Amazon page. Now, as you can see, this is actually the App Store page for Call of Duty Mobile, and you actually have to open it. Once you open this, you hit open, it'll open the game because you're opening it from the App Store. So if that doesn't bother you, you will be good to go. For me, it's like, oh man, I selected the wrong game. I need to go back. There is no way to get back to the Shanwan controller application without physically closing this application and then going back into it. So that is broken within itself. So I mean, as you can see, there's no back button. I can't swipe down. I can't swipe left or right. It will not let me do anything other than open this application. So you actually have to close the Shanwan application and reopen it again in order to get back to the main screen. So it is definitely a far stretch from being backbone quality. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the menu. So the menu is the three little lines over in the top right hand corner. So if you select that, this will bring up a few options, not very many good options. So for here, you can test your controller. Now, as you saw from at the beginning of the video, I have the Q13. Picture that it shows here in the settings is a Q17. So the only way that this is ever going to show the actual controller you have from Shanwan is if you have a Q17 controller or whatever the most up-to-date controller they have in this application. You can definitely test the controller you have using this application. On my controller, I'm going to go ahead and hold down the button to start doing the testing. Okay, so now as it loads the thing, you would think it would load the controller you have. The picture of this controller is the Q17. It is not the Q13 like I have. I'm hitting the left trigger, that works. Left bumper, that works. Right trigger. You get the gist. Now, it wasn't until I got into the game and started playing that I realized that some of the buttons weren't working correctly. So everything seemed to be working great. Shooting the enemy, I'm doing great. And then I need to activate some of my score streaks within Call of Duty Mobile. That's a right direction button. So I was like, I'm hitting it. It's kind of flaky. Maybe it's just the controller needs to be broke in. I found this checker here in the application, and I started going through all the buttons to check it. So barely tapping the up button, working just fine. Barely tapping the left directional button, works just fine. Tap the down, works just fine. The right one, applying the same amount of pressure I did to the other directions, but it is not working. I actually have to provide a firm press on that button before it'll even recognize it. So, broken controller right out of the box. Also, the M button which is on the 17 is over on the right side. On my controller, it's next to the power button on the left. So on the back of the controller, you have the M1, 2, 3, and 4. Those buttons correspond to the bumpers and the triggers on the top of the controller. So if I hit say for instance M1, that is the left bumper. If I hit M3 in this case, that would be the left trigger. It gives you no way of seeing those buttons on the back of the controller other than you pressing them here. There is no way of remapping these buttons within the application. There is no way of turning those off, mainly because it says in the manual that for the M button, which corresponds to the M buttons on the back of the controller, if you're supposed to be able to hold the M button on the controller down for 5 seconds, and it will completely clear out the functionality for the M buttons on the back, and they don't really do anything other than just click when you press them. I've tried every variation. I've tried going online and using online controller checkers. The M button on my controller does not work. So even when I press it here, it doesn't even show that it's even operational in this checker here in their application. I'm pressing that was the screenshot button. I apologize for that, just showing y'all what it does. But that button showed up. The menu button that I'm clicking, that showed up. The M button, I've tried putting more force pressure on it. I've tried everything. It will not register anything. So I got a broken controller right out of the box. And I got to say, I was very disappointed because it has a quality control pass sticker right on the bottom of the controller. So apparently whoever did that was not being paid very well, because they surely didn't do their job. But I'm going to end the test here and I'll go on to the next part. Okay, so update check. I just checked for an update not too long ago, and it says that the firmware is the most up to date. Moving down to feedback. Once I found the deficiencies with this application and also the deficiencies within the controller, I tried to leave feedback through the application. I've tried doing it throughout the week. I tried doing this throughout the day. Every single time I tried to submit feedback, it said the servers were unavailable. Apparently, they are not even doing anything with this application because you can't even leave feedback. But I've tried clearing the cache like it says there. And I've tried deleting the application, reopening it again. Still, I received nothing. It just says server unavailable. That is all you get from this application. There is nothing else fancy about this application. I mean, it is a very big disappointment considering, I mean, it has 3 reviews and 4.7 out of that. I'm assuming the people that left the higher star reviews are probably paid employees, because legitimate people were actually using this application. It surely wouldn't be getting a 4.7. For me, I think it's a 1 star because I think it fails all the way around. That is the application portion. Thank y'all for sticking around as long as you did. And I really hope that this has helped you in some way to understand the Shanwan controller. For mine, I have submitted a request to get mine replaced. So hopefully they'll send me one that actually works like it's supposed to, because I had really high hopes for this controller. It fits my phone within the case I have very well. It feels good in the hand, and I would love to be able to use this. Very long use out of it, but at this moment, I gotta say I am extremely disappointed with the Shanwan controller. But thank y'all very much for your time, and have a great day.